Do you think there should be a domestic violence registry just as there's a sex offender registry? We kind of have this in the UK. It's a domestic violence disclosure scheme. You can apply to find out if a partner or potential partner has any violent convictions or cautions. I have a fun story for this. When I was a teenager, 13/14, my evil stepmother stepped up her game. She hit herself on her arm a dozen times right in front of me and explained that when she developed a bruise she was going to tell everyone that I hit her, and that everyone would believe her. My dad certainly did. He beat my ass black and blue. And like a classic cartoon villain, she stood behind him and smiled at me the entire time. A day or two later, the police came to my school and pulled me out of class. They weren't super happy either. You must think you're a real tough guy. Huh? Good times. I had to go to court, which my dad paid for, which he made me pay for, and not with money. I got sentenced to 3 years community service, and I had to do a bunch of mandatory anger management classes. Each class was $150, and if I missed one, a warrant would have been placed for my arrest. My father also paid for that. Again, he was super thrilled about it and definitely didn't make my life miserable. He believes me now, but only after she showed her true colors years later. And it didn't matter by then. He believed her at the time, as did the police and the courts. Because what reasonable woman would bruise herself just to make a kid look bad? That would be crazy. If such a list existed, I would be on it. Edit. I got over 1,000 community service hours, which took me about 3 years to finish. Since I was still in school, I could ever get hours after school and over the weekends. No, I don't think there should be any registries. Mission creep means that sex offender registries today aren't just lists of rapists, but of public urinators and kids who had sex when they were underage. In theory, it sounds good, but in practice it might be so big it's unmanageable. Like tens of millions in the USA alone. Sex offender registry hasn't stopped any sex crimes from happening. It's actually proven to be more of a hassle and unmanageable by the states and counties. My city has around 8,000 registered offenders, and there is only one person in charge of overseeing it to ensure those on it are up to date. Sounds like a waste to me. I live across the street from a school and a sex offender. If anyone thinks those 1,000 feet away from a school would stop the dude if he wanted to go and stare at kids or kidnap one, they would be sadly mistaken. Those 1,000 feet start from the front door of the school. By the time you've made it to the sidewalk, you are nearly 1,000 feet away already. Minnesota has a predatory offender registry that goes beyond violent sexual offenses. It includes crimes like kidnapping, though I don't think domestic violence is included. A lot of cops here in the USA are domestic abusers. They will balk at such an idea and do everything they can to quash it. Yes, with details about why they are on there. The sex offender registry is useless. Those are the people in the system, on probation, parole, under constant scrutiny by PPOs. The sex offenders you need to worry about are the ones not on the list, who haven't been caught, and look and act like everybody else. And most sex offenders are trusted, close family members or friends of the victim, not the creepy guy down the street. TBH, there shouldn't even be a sex offender registry. Way too many people end up on that for things like being gay or trans, soliciting a sex worker, being a sex worker, etc. It's inherently dangerous, and with a domestic violence registry it could just as easily be utilized against people. Registries like that make you quickly think of the worst scenarios. For the sore, you tend to think of rape and pedophilia. For something like this you'd probably think to someone horribly physically abusive. The thing is, it doesn't help anything. Wouldn't be an awful idea. But I think registries like this suffer from a lack of a decent appeals process and a very low barrier to entry. Like another commenter said, the sex offender list is partially populated with people who got wasted and pissed on a public school or people who sexted other teens when they were 14. It ought to primarily include adults only who are repeat offenders, and it ought to have an accessible appeals process. No, at least not a permanent one. I think that everyone should be given a chance to improve and reform themselves and make amends for their past wrongdoings. And a permanent and publicly accessible record of their crimes makes that impossible. I feel like there are a lot of gray areas that need to be filled, as well as proof that the abuse is taking place. A cursory look into this would indicate that you probably shouldn't have a public registry of any crime that you want to reduce. Hell no, not until policing is reformed. I had a family member bullying my 96-year-old grandmother, and when I told them they needed to leave, they attacked me with a weapon, so I threw a punch to get them to back up. I am the one who got domestic battery and went to jail, even though I was literally defending myself from someone who attacked me with a weapon for telling them they needed to leave and stop bullying a 96-year-old. TBH, I think public registries make it difficult for that person to change even after fulfilling their sentence. Once they've committed a crime, they will always be labeled by that crime. A private registry that can be accessed by law enforcement, I think, would be a better solution. Once the trend to start registries for more crimes comes about, who knows where it will stop. The more registries, the better. No, registries are just an excuse to harass people and don't provide any additional protection to victims. No. In most locales the policy is to arrest the man regardless of who is at fault. A domestic violence registry would be overwhelmingly misandrist. Every day we get one step closer to the Chinese social credit system.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.